Max, we are very happy to have you here in Rijeka. Thank you very much for coming. Mike is yours.
Okay, I have no idea what she just said, what any of that is. I deny it all. So, welcome to the new reality that our governments are trying to create for us, folks. What do you think? You having a good time? The last 4 or 5 years have sort of blown the lid off everything. I mean, if anybody couldn't see before, maybe now, that the world is run by criminals, I think the last 4 or 5 years should have sorted that out for them pretty well. You know, as I've often said, we've got a multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal disguised as governments, a whole group of racketeering parasites who have basically taken over this world and are currently depopulating. And we're at a really pivotal time in history, folks. We really are. We are at a really, really crucial time. You know, everything they've done over the last 4 or 5 years, we're going to see coming to a head over the next 1 or 2 years. Massive amounts of people are now dying from the injection that they gave them. Reports that are coming out of hospitals, like people are going into seizure for days on end. The hospitals basically have to euthanize these people just to stop the pain. And that's just the beginning. You know, with the wars and everything that they're doing, I mean, it's really time for the people of the world to stand up and call things out for what they are and reclaim this world for ourselves out of the hands of these parasites. The point is how to do that. And that's one of the reasons I'm sort of here in Croatia, is because, I mean, this is a kind of a powerful country. It's a country very family oriented, you know, a lot of awake people, a lot of aware people anyway. People may not be awake, but they're certainly aware of what's going on. And it's a really strong family oriented country, and quite a low population. You've got nearly 4 million people, 3.9 million people here. Where I'm living at the moment in Mexico, there's like 26 million people in Mexico City. So it's just crazy. You can't get these people to focus on anything. But with everything that's happening in Europe and everything that's happening with the world, I mean, this is a country that you could actually convince to stand up, I think, anyway. Looking at it from an outsider's perspective. I mean, living here, you might find a lot of people just won't listen. But you don't really need all of them to listen anyway. You just got to have the ones who are aware of what's going on to get a little bit of focus and apply that in the right directions. Like I said, the world's run by criminals. It's pretty obvious now. I mean, everything they've done. They lied about the pandemic. They're lying about climate change. They're overrunning this whole continent with migrants, which is all part of an age-old plan to destroy the people of Europe by mass migration. This has been in the workings for a long time, and we're seeing it all come to pass now. And with what they've done in Gaza has really put the icing on the cake. We've got a genocide being carried out, live streamed on TV, being supported by a whole bunch of European politicians, which means they're supporting war crimes, so they're all war criminals under their own law. It's really as simple as that. I mean, I've been saying for the last 20 years that the Gaza Strip, Palestine and the Gaza Strip holds the key to free humanity, because the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. The very existence of Gaza Strip is a war crime. This is a crime of collective punishment outlawed by the Geneva Convention in World War II, and all of our governments are supporting it. I've put a lot of focus on Gaza and on Palestine for many years, trying to heal the situation, and a few years ago I stopped because I realised that putting pressure there isn't going to change anything. The only reason Gaza Strip exists is because the politicians of our countries all support it. I haven't got much stage left here. This is an insane crowd, by the way. Incredible. I just can't believe it. I mean, there's a couple of light fittings that we can have people hanging off around the place if we want to get a few more in. But this is crazy. I mean, thanks so much for coming. But anyway, Gaza Strip holds the key to it all. Gaza Strip is a war crime. The very fact that it exists and our government support it shows that our governments are war criminals. And now we've got a genocide, literally a genocide being carried out against 2.3 million people. Been over 40,000 people killed in the last 7 months, many of them children, most of them children. They're calling it a war against Gaza. It's not a war. It takes 2 armies to have a war. The average age in the Gaza Strip is 17. This is not a war. This is a genocide against children. I actually broke into Gaza. I snuck in there in 2012, crawled through a rebel tunnel. It wasn't one of the Hamas tunnels that you hear about. It was a rebel tunnel. It was 50 metres underground. It was about this high. I had to crawl on my hands and knees for about an hour and a half, about a mile to get through. Came up into a blown up building, and what I saw in there was a world of children. I was there for 10 days, ran around with a video camera, filming all sorts of stuff. When we were leaving, we got detained by Hamas, and they interrogated us, wanting to know how we got into the country. Their interrogation consisted of tea and bickies and sending our lost luggage after us after they provided a driver to get us back to Cairo. This terrorist organisation, okay? I broke into their country illegally. And these guys they took my passport for a while, checked me out, couldn't find anything wrong with me, figured I wasn't an Israeli spy. But like I said, the interrogation, they gave us tea and biscuits, they questioned us. They said to us, you know, we could put you up in the firing squad if we wanted to. But they were kind of joking about it, they were joyful about it all. And they provided me with a driver to get me back to Cairo, to get me home safely, sent my lost luggage after me, and totally looked after me. This so-called terrorist organisation. Gaza Strip is a world of children, folks. It's not a war, it's a genocide. And some of the stuff that's been coming out of there, I mean, it provides a real opportunity for the world to see what's going on. Because what they want to do is move us into this smart grid. You've all heard about it, the cashless society, electric cars, electric bikes, digital ID, everything they want to do, which this whole system they perfected in China, who was supposed to be the enemy, they're bringing this out into the world now. You know, it's all one big circus, folks. It's one criminal cabal that all works together. But this is what they want to do. When you look at Gaza and what they're doing to Gaza now, well, that's a good example of what they can do in a 15-minute city to an enclosed population. And that's what you'll get. Like in Rijeka, in Zagreb, in all of these cities, you'll get little 15-minute areas that will have digital barriers around them. Through the ULEZ cameras, like they're doing in the United Kingdom. They've got these cameras that track and trace cars that are going past certain zones, and that's how they're going to run it. And once you're all in electric cars, you won't be able to go outside your 15-minute zone. You'll find that if you do, your electric car won't work, your electric currency won't work, your card won't work, none of your things will work, your cell phone won't work. They'll have this digital barrier between you and reality. That's what they're doing. And so you can just stay home in your 15-minute zone and eat insects and bugs and larvae the way they want you to do. Now, this is a really, really crazy dystopia that they're moving us into, folks. And they're robotising everything. They're removing all ability for people to work. There won't even be any jobs for people to do because robots will be doing it all. So you just be staying home in your virtual world eating bugs, those that are left. Because like I said, they are massively depopulating the earth. Does anybody here have the COVID jab? Oh, that's great to see. That's great to see. Really, really good. No, this is killing people, folks. It's absolutely killing people. What was that? You had it?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
I feel sorry for you. Did you have a booster?
No.
No booster?
That's the only ones I was like, let's say, forced to do, but my own willing.
Yeah, well, there might be ways you can get that out. I mean, there's certain stuff that I've seen on YouTube and stuff that have said, you know, there's certain ways of getting this stuff out of your body. What they've done with this, they've basically put this mRNA or whatever it is they put in there, and they've changed people's bodies. They've taken away people's bodies' ability to heal themselves. And that's why people are dying of all sorts of things that we think are unrelated illnesses, but they're all related to the jab, because your body isn't repairing itself anymore if you had this jab. Like I said about people seizing for days, people having blood clots the length of their leg. I mean, just stuff we've never seen before. Doctors are saying it's the stuff they've never seen before. And it's depopulation, and we're going to see this coming more and more and more. You're going to see a lot of people die, and they're going to say it's disease X or whatever. You create fear and do everything they can to keep you locked into this system. But that's what they're trying to do. And the COVID jab, if you really see what they did with all of the guidelines they put in place with the COVID pandemic, the scamdemic, which didn't exist, for a virus that didn't exist, what they did was they put in the framework of how to control you. Like, literally force the people to do the most ridiculous things. You can only walk on the beach, you can't sit on the beach. You've got to wear masks when you're walking into restaurants, but you take them off when you sit down, because of course the virus can't go below 5 feet. So when you're sitting at the table, you know, it knows if you're walking around though, you know. Stuff like, it was ridiculous, some of the stuff they were saying. But they put all of the framework in place, and then they sort of pulled back COVID, and now it's coming into climate change, and now they're saying that they can apply all of these COVID guidelines to climate change. Now, Joe Biden is even saying that he might be declaring a climate emergency. All they're going to do now is use the word emergency, and all of these things can come in place. And in the next month, in May and June, they are due to sign the WHO Pandemic Treaty, okay, the World Health Organization Treaty. And this is going to mean everything is going to depend on your vaccine status. So you apply that to climate change. You've got all this COVID stuff, apply it all to climate change, then bring in the World Health Organization, so your vaccine status, your digital ID, going online, using your digital currency, all this sort of stuff, even opening your digital ID, which you'll need to interact with the system at all. Of course, you're going to have your vaccination status up. So this is the way they're going to play it, folks. They're going to bring it all together into one thing if we let them. And they're really trying to remove cash at the moment. There's a couple of Australians here. How bad is it in Australia? It's just absolutely crazy what they're doing over there.
Shocking.
It's incredible. They're taking out like 60% of the ATMs in Australia. So you can't even get cash out if you want to. People are doing it anyway. They're driving miles to get to ATMs to draw cash out just to show, yes, we want cash. That's some form of protest. But what we've got to see is that we've got to take it beyond that. We've really got to get control of this system ourselves. The people have got to regain control of all of our countries, regain control of all of our autonomy. You know, and they say that they're all enemies, you know. They're saying that all these countries are at loggerheads with each other. We've got the war in Ukraine and all this stuff going on. They all work together, folks. It's one big thing. What's going on in Ukraine is money laundering. It's depopulation. That's what's going on in Ukraine. Putin could have gone into Donbass 8 years ago and saved all those people if he wanted. He went in exactly when the globalists needed him to do so in order to provide the excuse for this domino effect to happen. So they want to crash everything. They want to crash the currency, crash the economy right around the world, but they've got to do it in a way that's believable, in a way that the people will see it as just a natural occurring thing. Oh, it was terrible, Putin, it was Russia, it was Ukraine, it was this, it was China. They all work together. The Chinese system of social crediting and mass surveillance they've got in China, they've been running this in Darwin, Australia for the last 5 years, and nobody even knew it was in place. And this is what they want to bring in all around the world, but they've got to create the excuse to do it. They've got to crash the US economy. They've got to ramp up personal debt with everybody, so that then they can have a debt amnesty. They can crash the whole system, crash the economy, crash the US economy, which will in turn crash the world economy, but they need everyone in debt in order to do it properly. And everyone's going to freak out because they all think money's real. Then they can offer you their new digital system. That's what BRICS is all about. That's what China, the Russia-China alliance with Iran and BRICS and all this stuff. You remember about 20 years ago they tried to bring out BRICS. And there was almost world wars over it because the United States doesn't want to lose its position as a world reserve currency. Now BRICS is coming out. No one's saying anything about it. They're just saying, oh, this is happening over here. You know, it's all by design, folks. The whole thing is by design. But like I said, they've got to do it in a way that is believable. And what the people have got to do is realise that what we're dealing with here is a criminal cabal. The world is run by criminals. None of these governments have any legitimacy anymore. They just don't. You know, they've invalidated themselves. They've removed any validity they had. They've abdicated their privilege to govern, every one of these governments, because they all work together and they're all doing the same thing in every country. When you look at how it worked with COVID, you know, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Look at us now. You know, we don't even know what a woman is anymore. It's crazy. Children are cutting their genitals off. It's just unbelievable what they've done to the world from 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And all of the governments did it. Didn't matter where you were, China, Japan, Iran, Russia, all of them did it. The UK, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, everybody did it. Shows that they all work together. It's all one system, lockstep. That's the way they did it. Anyone remember that document that came out in the early 2000s, the lockstep document? Had this whole thing outlined of what they would do if there was a great big pandemic. And now they're talking about the new pandemic, disease X, that they're already preparing a vaccine for. Yeah. If you don't know what the virus is, how can you prepare a vaccine for it? And there is no virus. There's been so much come out in the last 4 years about this whole medical allopathic system. The fact that no virus has ever been identified, no contagion has ever been shown to work. They've done experiments in hospitals, experiments in labs for years and years on end, trying to get someone to be infected with something else Even the horses and animals and whatever, they can't. The only way they can do it is if they inject it into the blood. That isn't really a contagion, is it? So viruses aren't real. So therefore vaccines aren't real. All these things do is ruin your immune system. When you get sick, I mean, it's just a detox. That's all it is. It's only ever a detox. And all of this has been co-opted and led down this pathway just to give the government more control. And it's not even in the pharmaceutical company's best interest to have you healthy anyway. They just want to feed you more drugs. There's been doctors and nurses that have come to light in the last 5 years, just realised what they've been doing with their life and gone, oh my God, for the last 40 years I've been slowly murdering people, and realising what it's all about. This is a big depopulation event, folks. So what we've got to do is identify that there is no remedy in government. The remedy is in us, in all of us. I mean, all the people here who are all aware of what's going on and awake to this agenda, you can make change by being the best person you can be in your own community, just by getting this message out to people and by demonstrating that you're a great person. That's the way to do it. Be the best person that you can. The other people want to emulate that. They want to be near you. They want to be around you and find out what you know. This is how to change the world. I mean, I was getting reports as well. I mean, I'm a bit vague here, folks, but I was getting reports as well out of Russia before I left Australia. That 90 to 99% of the people on Earth aren't even real people. They're just people they got on the last reset. Their minds are already in the mainframe. They're just walking around in biological avatars thinking that they're human. You know, and that could be a possibility. NPCs, as they say. Or perhaps it's just a form of soul purification, and there's certain aspects of consciousness that are never ever going to wake up. So, you know, you don't need them to. Be the best person you can be and influence the people around you. If people join in and come along with us, well, that's great. But the others, let them fall by the wayside if that's the way it's going to go. The ones who took the jab and went and did all this stuff, many of them are just going to fall by the wayside. And that's the way it's going to be. But we can make sure there's a shining light of divinity, a light of purity that comes through the other side of this. Because we're about to really head into a storm. You know, I'm expecting some really major things to happen, like within the next 12 months. Well, like we've been waiting for this for years and years, thinking, well, this is coming any day. And what they've done in the last 5 years has shown that it's, you know, everything's in place now. All the dominoes are in place. Them trying to push World War III and make it go hot on the ground the way they're doing. I said in 2008, World War III has already started. It's a war of depopulation that's being waged by the governments against the people of the world. And it's been going on for a long time. It's a war of depopulation. One of the big tools they're going to use is control of food, control of resources, which is what they're doing. Climate change and all the stuff they're doing now. I mean, climate change is such a fraud, such a provable fraud, you know, and all heading towards carbon zero. Carbon zero is like the moon. That's a pretty good carbon zero environment. You know, carbon zero, we're carbon-based life forms. Trees, animals, everything is carbon-based life. If they reach carbon zero, then they've destroyed all life. So they're basically even telling you what they're doing. And that's half of the plan. I mean, they want to kind of merge us all with robots. I've been talking, a lot of people have been talking, whether it's going to be chips or how it's going to be done, but they want to merge us into this cyborg reality. You know, depopulate most of the world, have what is left so desperate for help and assistance, begging the government to save them, that they can merge them into this reality and merge them with machine. You know, the whole jab, the stuff they put into people, the nanotech they're spraying in the skies. God, you guys have got some severe chemtrails here. It's been crazy when I first got here. And just the trip from Venice down to Zadar through Rijeka here, it was insane, the amount of chemtrails in the sky. Absolutely insane. So this nanotech is getting everybody. Has anybody seen the talk of Dr. Charles Morgan about he did a talk at West Point called Neurobiology and Warfare. Has anybody seen that talk? This was 2018. They talked about how they can put a particle into people's bodies, have it park anywhere, and then they can activate that particle through radio waves and they can literally drive the person around. They call it the possession experiment. They can get in there, they can control people's motor function, control people's thoughts, control people's memories. And this is in 2018. And this is a lecture being given by a doctor to heads of military at West Point. This isn't conjecture, this isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't something they were working on. This is what they could do in 2018. So you think about what they've done with this jab and all this stuff that they're putting in there with all the boosters and all this sort of stuff. But then think about what they're also doing with the chemtrails. The nanotechnology that's coming in the chemtrails. We found desiccated erythrocytes, dried red blood cells, all sorts of stuff in the chemtrails. There's a lot of biological stuff going on there. It's a multi-platform delivery system. So all of this stuff's going on the inside and going on in the background while everyone's distracted with everything else, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, just trying to pay the bills, everything. Everyone's distracted and all of this stuff's going on in the background. So a lot of the people that you can't wake up. I mean, what is this nanotech doing? What is this, these vaccines doing? So many people, their bodies are so polluted, you don't even know if they're people anymore because they don't even know if they're people anymore. You know, your thoughts could be being controlled, all sorts of things. That might sound outrageous, but again, go and look at this talk by Dr. Charles Morgan at West Point, where he talks about all this sort of stuff. It isn't conjecture, it isn't conspiracy theory, it's science fact, okay? This whole 5G system that they put in place, this new technology, which is simply the incorporation of a millimetre wave, which is really fast technology, which can direct, like absolutely directly straight at your phone. Like normally with normal mobile networks, it's just an ambient wave, you just tune in. But with 5G, it sends a signal direct to you, direct to your phone. It can target everybody. And that's why there's so many towers in place, and that's why they need it in place, because they need the bandwidth to be able to do this, to be able to control people, to be able to get into people's phones, which is the gateway, get into their bodies. The thing they want to do is eliminate the phone. A lot of people don't like these things, you know, carrying these things around, tracking, tracing you everywhere you're going. But that was the gateway. They got people to do it. Now they don't even need the phone. They don't need, and even with your phone, you don't even need to have your phone switched on anymore. You don't even need to have a battery in it or a SIM card in it. They can still trace it everywhere it goes and use it as a node to bounce other signals off. So they've created this whole mesh network anyway, but they want to get rid of that device and get it all in your body. So all this stuff they're spraying on us, all this stuff they're doing, folks, I mean, we're really under attack in so many subtle ways, in so many directions. The whole transgender thing as well. I mean, if they're going to move you into a stage where you're merged with a robot, you're basically a cyborg, well, you're not really going to have any sexuality in that type of reality, which is why they're moving all this whole transgender thing the way they are, getting people to destroy their own sexual function, getting kids to do it before they've even reached puberty. It's absolutely obscene what they're doing now. They're even putting puberty blockers in children's food. Did you know that? Like if you're buying Cheerios for your children, or baby powder, or baby food, baby formula, just children's food, cereals and things, they're putting puberty blockers in them right around the world. So watch out for all that stuff, folks. You've got to really start moving away from the system and see what's coming. I mean, a lot of people can see what's coming, but they just go on with their lives. They just do this stuff and they keep consuming this stuff and blah, 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 blah. You really got to see what's going on here. But all of this stuff has been designed to move us into the machine, depopulate probably 90% of the world and move the rest into a massive control grid that will be very, very difficult for people to extricate themselves from. That's the plan. But what I see here is an opportunity. I mean, I think it's an opportunity for freedom. This is the apocalypse. The apocalypse is the great revealing, the great unveiling. Everything suddenly becomes easy for all to see. The whole workings of the mechanism are laid bare. And it becomes your choice as to whether you want to go into this or not. And that's what we're in. And this provides a huge opportunity for freedom. All we've got to do is grow up and stand up and call this out for what it is. You know, the problem is that we think we need parents all the time. We go through our home lives, our parents tell us what to do, we go to school, our parents tell us what to do, and then when we leave school, the government tells us what to do, they become our parents. And this is an opportunity for us to shake all that off and grow up, and call these people out for what they are. Something I've been suggesting here to the people in Croatia is something like a people's mandate, which is something I suggested here 12 years ago when I came. This is actually my third time to Croatia. Great country, folks. You've got a really good country here. And I've been brought here because of these wonderful two ladies here, Igan. And they paid for the whole thing. They brought me over here. I mean, they're doing these gigs for free. It's all, you know, they had a whole bunch of t-shirts, but they don't have any anymore. But if you can help them out with some donations there in the box to pay for petrol and stuff, it would be really appreciated as well. But they're the ones who brought me over here. And Croatia is a special country, like I said at the start, because you've got a real sense of family here, and you guys have been through some shit. I mean, you really been through some shit in this country in the last 50 years. And you know what it means to fight. You know what it means to fight for freedom. You know what deceptive politicians are like. And all politicians are deceptive, folks. That's just the way it is. Don't trust these people. You know, unfortunately, a prerequisite to be a successful politician in the modern world is you must be a barefaced liar. You must be able to look people directly in the eye and tell them barefaced lies without any remorse for the hardship you're going to cause their lives. If you can't do that, you will never make it as a successful politician in the modern world under this current political system. That's just an unfortunate reality. You might be a good guy when you go in there to start with, it's not going to last real long. Because you're going to have to compromise on 90% of what you want to get done just to get 10% done. And after you've been doing this for about 10 years, well, you're just part of the club. Nothing ever goes anywhere. What we've got to do is see what we've got here. You've got a two-party system, of course, in Croatia. It's a two-party system everywhere. It's not, it's a uni-party system. It's one party, it's two sides of the same coin. What we've got is a functional rotational dictatorship in all of our countries. And we need to identify that fact. That's why there's no political remedy. You can't petition these people. You can't ask them to please be nicer slave traders and nicer slave masters. You've got to mandate that they actually do your will and perform your will, because that's what they're elected to do. They're actually elected to act for the people and carry out the people's will and support their country. You know? And what have they done? I mean, they've signed everybody over to the EU, so it's all one big organism now, and now they're about to sign that over to the WHO, which is an unelected corporate body. I didn't vote for it, you didn't vote for it, we don't know who these people are. Now, one of them is Tedros in the WEF and the WHO. Tedros was chased out of Africa for genocide. And now here he is running the World Health Organization and wants everyone to have jabs. Well, that sounds great. That's a perfect role model for us all, isn't it? You know, but that's who your government is signing all this over to. This is all abuse of office. It's all breach of trust. What you need to do is mandate your government. We, the people, hereby mandate you perform the following actions, blah, 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 and don't sign us over to this treaty and get us out of the EU. You know, act on the will of the people. Do what the people want you to do. You have 30 days to comply. If you don't comply, then you've abdicated your privilege to govern and you're going to be out of the building. We're going to express a loss of confidence in your ability to govern, a loss of confidence in this government, and we're going to elect new government from the people, and we're going to elect people of integrity to lead us back to a point of self-autonomy. That's what needs to happen. The whole EU needs to be dissolved. The EU is a complete scam. I'm sure everybody knows that. But they want to bring this whole World War III into the EU as well. You know, with everything that they're doing, everything they've set up, it's remarkable how they've set it all up, with Russia as the bad guy and blah, blah, blah. You know, and as I said, they want to put a trade-off of East against West as well. I mean, with what Israel's doing in Gaza, you know, genociding the people of Gaza, one of the main things that they're doing there, and with the red heifer ceremony on Al-Aqsa Mosque, anybody know about that? Yeah. The 5 red heifers that they want to sacrifice to rebuild a new temple, blah, blah, blah. This is done in order to aggravate the Arab world, to get Iran irate and everybody irate, so that they'll create this crash of Christians against Muslims. But of course, they've got to bring all the Muslims and brown people into all the countries in Europe, so it's right on everybody's doorstep, all through France, Germany, Austria. There's so many immigrants flooding through Europe, and I don't have to tell you about that. A lot of them pass through Croatia. Fortunately, there's not a lot in Croatia, though. Like I said, Croatia is 3.9 million people. It's actually the most racially pure country in all of Europe. Did you know that? It's the most racially pure genetic country, or Caucasian country in all of Europe, at 99.3%, I think. That's pretty amazing. And it's also got the lowest crime rate in Europe. Surprise, surprise. It's a powerful country, folks, and you have the ability to all come together. You really do. And what we've got to do is identify the problem. And a lot of people can see it now. Even straight people who aren't really awake, I mean, they're still aware that there's a problem. They're aware that something's terribly wrong. And all it would take is the right type of prompting to convince them to actually support a movement that was going to bring accountability to politicians. Because that accountability, I mean, you say this, I want to hold these people accountable. What are you going to do? Take them to the court system? They own the court system. You know, so the way you do it is through a people's mandate, like I said. Get enough people to identify what the problem is. and then mandate that these people basically step down because they've abdicated their privilege to govern anyway. By signing you over to the EU, by supporting climate change, which is a complete fraud, by bringing out this jab, this injection, which has killed. I was on an interview the other day, and the guy that was interviewing me said that it's 17 million people worldwide now have died from this jab. I personally know there's been 40,000 people injured or dead from the jab just in Australia. You know, and that's a small population. It's 26 million people, same as Mexico City. So how many people around the world have really died from this? And this is the stuff they've done. They've murdered the population through this jab. They've signed you over to the EU, given the autonomy of the country away. They're pushing this climate change agenda, which is a complete fraud, and it's a provable fraud. You know, and now they're supporting a genocide in the Gaza Strip. I mean, how much more do they have to do to put it in your face before the people are going to say, hey, hang on a minute, you guys are supposed to represent us, and you're not doing that, so you're gone. And we're not going to go through all your little red tape and all your shit that you do to try to fix this problem. We're just going to go directly to the cause of the problem, which is you guys, you're an abuse of the office that you hold. That's the most serious crime a politician can commit, abuse of office. You have used the office that you hold to delegate yourself powers that you have no right to, you are not entitled to. And by doing so, you've endangered the entire country. It's not acceptable. You know, we can't go through all their red tape and systems to do this. We've just got to grow up and call it out. It's like having a bad kid in the house. You don't go through and you don't petition him and you just create all these little scenarios and sit down and talk to him and ask him to please stop smashing your dishes. You discipline the kid. You know, you make sure he starts doing the right thing. We've got to do the same thing with our government. It's got to realise they are not our rulers. They're our representatives. We elect them to represent us and carry out our will, and they're not doing it. So we need to just address that problem. That's what I say, a people's mandate. If you get enough people, and I think you could in Croatia, you've got 3.9 million people here. It's quite a small population, quite a close-knit population. The police can't be as violent here as they can in other countries because everybody knows them. They're all family people. Everyone knows them. They know where they live. So, you know, you've got an opportunity here to do something like this, to create some sort of a movement. Because, you know, we come across, we're all awake and aware of what's going on. We try to tell people, we come across as mad conspiracy theorists and all this sort of shit. But if we can identify this problem on the ground in a way that the people can understand. I mean, the people believe the system's real. They believe it's real. We know it's a fiction. It's just an idea. The whole concept of it, the respect for authority is just an idea. But all these people out there, Joe Public, they all believe it's real. So if we can use that system or aspects of that system against the system in a way that will empower the people, maybe that will work. Maybe that will help things. You know, maybe that will cause a lot more people to get on the train as well and realise that the answer to this problem lies with each of us. As I said, being the best person you can possibly be. Being a shining light in your community is one of the ways through this as well. I mean, if you're a really good person, and people around like being in your company, people respect and admire you, and they're more prone to listen to what you have to say. And if you present an idea like a people's mandate, they're going to look at this and go, this is actually a pretty good idea. And it empowers me as well. It empowers everybody. But that's something that a lot of people are scared of, unfortunately. People are kind of terrified of their own power, which is what's really got us into this mess to begin with. You know, people have got to realise what they are. People have got to really grow up, folks. And that's what this is. That's why I say this is a form of soul purification. Because it's an opportunity for us to step into who we are. I mean, and I often believe, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here listen to my walk and talks and my radio shows, and what I've often said is that, you know, this is a soul harvest, and it's an opportunity for us to grow up. It's a form of purification. It's a test. You know, the main event comes after. This is actually an exam to see whether you are worthwhile to become part of whatever collective community is going to make it through, whether it's God consciousness, whatever it is, whatever you believe it to be, whatever you believe God to be. You know, it's a test for us. This is an exam. And we're not really doing it. I mean, the whole purpose of this life, of this journey through this realm, is to choose between good and evil, to grow our own souls. You know, how many people are doing that? Look how crazy the world's got, because the world's reached a point of spiritual bankruptcy. Too many people are choosing the easy way. And even if it's just the NPCs, the non-players, the non-people, whatever they are, they're doing it, they're going away and getting on with it, but it's dragging a lot of people who are awake and aware in with it. You know, and we're not choosing the right thing, we're not choosing the right path. And this is an opportunity for us to do that. And the longer we go without doing that, the more crazy the world's going to get. That's just the way it is. You know, it's gotten really, really nuts, and it's going to get more nuts. The question is, you know, what are you going to do about it? Because it's an individual path. It's an individual thing with all of us. You know, even forming a group and a movement, you know, we do this, and gee, I like what Max is saying, I like what this guy's saying, or that guy's saying. We'll form a group and he will lead us. That's just looking for new parents. You know, you've got to be able to lead yourself. And with what's coming, folks, something really major that you've got to do is get back in touch with your life skills. Get back in touch with your life skills. Get to know organic farmers in the area. There's one here, organic farmer. She does great work. But get back in touch with organic farmers. Get back in touch with your own life skills. Learn how to grow food. Learn how to build a shelter. Learn how to hunt. Learn how to do the things that we all used to know how to do. Because soon you're going to have to do that. If you don't want to be part of the system, because they're going to do it. I mean, I can't see any way. If we don't stand up and call these people out for what they are, issue something like people's mandates and get them to dissolve these governments and replace them with ourselves, then the system's going to go where the system's going to go. And that's going to be into this whole smart grid. And if you don't want to participate in it, well, like I said, your currency isn't going to work. If it's all digital currency, it's not going to work. You've got a digital license, that's not going to work. You're not going to be able to use your cell phone. And not have your license on your cell phone, and everything on your cell phone, of course. But you won't be able to access your cell phone. You won't be able to go online. You won't be able to do any of this stuff if you haven't checked all the boxes and comply with everything they want to do. And then they can go back and they can really filter out who they don't want. They can go back, once they get this social crediting in place and this digital ID in place, they can go back, they can check your browsing history back to the start of the internet, back to 1995. This is all still there. Even your old MySpace pages are all still there. Every edit you made on anything you did digitally is all still there. They can go back, they can totally profile everybody back to 1995. They can get a social profile at anybody, and they can shift those people over there, these people over there. There'll only be two types of people in the system they're creating: desirables and undesirables. If you're an undesirable, you get taken off to the re-education centre. If you don't comply, well, perhaps they'll turn you into solid green or something. You know, they've given all this stuff to us in the movies for years and years, but that's the way they want to do it. They want to just completely profile everybody, and that's what they're going to do. So if you don't want to be part of that, well, you're going to have to be in touch with your life skills. And you'll have social crediting as well. And with everything that's going on, carbon credits, social credits. So your carbon credits will determine how many times you've opened the fridge today, how many times you've used the stove, how far you've travelled in your car, have you done any aircraft flights? You've done too many aircraft flights. You flew to Spain last February, so we can't let you use your heating this year because of the climate. You know, carbon points. We can't produce carbon. You know, there's actually a carbon shortage in Australia and New Zealand. Carbon's essential, folks. I mean, carbon's essential for life, and we've been told that it's our enemy. It's a joke. And anybody who really thinks the political system's real, just remember this. You really think the political system's real? You guys just voted, didn't you? You just had an election. Did anybody vote in that election? Did anybody here vote in that election? I'm sure a few people did. Don't be honest. Put your hand up. Did you vote for these parasites? Of course you did. We're trained to do that. You know, we think if we vote for the other side of the coin, something's going to happen. You normally have your elections on the weekends, don't you? But this time you had it on a Wednesday, and the date was April 17. April 17 is a significant date because April 17 is International Circus Day. Did you know that? They're putting it in your face at this stage, you know. They're really putting it in your face. It's like eating bugs, you know. What can we do with these people? What can we get them to do? Look what they've got people to do through COVID. God, if they could do that. Yeah. But International Circus Day. You vote for clowns, you get a circus. That's what's going on. And look, they're just putting it in your face. They're absolutely putting it in your face. They are, and their hubris really should be what's going to bring them down. I think it is what's bringing them down. I think they've moved too fast. I think even with what Israel's doing in Gaza, it's moved too fast. Israel won't survive what's going on. I mean, and even Henry Kissinger said 10 years ago, Israel won't be there in 10 years. Well, actually, it was 12 years ago he said that. We managed to sort of slow the process down. In 2005, they said in the next 7 years, they're going to, or in the next 5 years, they're going to take over 7 countries. That was 2005. Now it's 2024. They still haven't achieved all that. So we managed to slow them down, but they never stop. They just kind of slow the process down. They keep going. They take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's just what they do. So they're just kind of putting it in people's face now with the international circus day. But you know, we've got to step up to the plate, folks. That's what this is. That's what this time in history is. This is one of the most crucial times in all of history, because this is the time humanity was given the choice as, you know, do you want to be human or not? Do you believe in yourself or not? Are you prepared to grow up and be an adult or not? You don't need parents. You don't need to ask permission for anything. You really don't. These people need to ask permission for what they do. I mean, and ultimately it's only one law. God's law, do no harm. Do no harm. How is it that every piece of legislation that they put in place causes harm? Every crime that exists, they created by creating their laws. More laws, more crime. We make it illegal to walk on the grass on a Sunday, illegal to go down the beach, illegal to go to the shopping centre without a mask on. Whatever, it becomes a new crime. So more laws, more crime. Oh my God, so much crime. We need more laws, we need more police, more crime. That's the way it goes, you know. And it's racketeering, the whole thing's racketeering. But the way they're doing it, folks, with the social crediting and the carbon crediting and everything that's in place, pretty soon you won't even need governments. That's why it's important for us to stand up now and hold these people into account and put them into account before the system goes forward, because soon we won't be able to, because they won't even be there. All you'll have is a figurehead, like Tito, or you know, who's that guy in Canada, Justin Castro? Just like that, or whoever that guy in England, Rickshaw or Shitsack, guy, anyway, the guy in Australia, Albanese, he's an international embarrassment. Please don't make memes about me anymore. Did you see that? He started complaining to Facebook because they made memes about him. Please take out the memes on me, it's not fair, it's unkind. And the result has been a tsunami of memes. Albanese. And you know, Elon Musk is going, what are you talking about? There's no borders on Twitter. You can't tell me to take down stuff because it's against Australian law or it's against your wishes, you know? That's incredible. But we're heading for a place soon. When the carbon credits are in place and the social credits are in place, and they're mass producing robots like you wouldn't believe as well. I mean, the police that are actually moving us into this are going to be replaced by robots as well soon. That wouldn't surprise me. But you're not going to need government, because once you are allotted a certain amount of social credit points, a certain amount of carbon credit points, the things you do, your own actions in your day, you're going to be policing yourself. Can't turn the tap on here, can't speed there, can't do that, can't say the wrong thing on social media, because I'll go down in social credit points, I'll go down in carbon credit points. And once you get down to a certain level, the AI will be alerted, the AI will already have determined what your punishment is, how long you need to spend in the reorientation centre, you know, and they'll just alert the authorities will come and pick you up. Your sentence is already predetermined. There won't be any lawyers, there won't be any judges, there won't be any court. And you won't even need government to make laws. The AI will determine what's going on. Oh, this is what we need in order to run this according to proper carbon change parameters and social credit parameters and all the parameters, WHO parameters that are all been programmed into the system. It'll all be predetermined. You won't even need government. So who are you going to protest against? When it gets to that point, who are you going to protest against? Seriously, are you going to write letters to these people? Are you going to say you won't comply with an algorithm? If you don't comply, okay, we'll switch you off. Your money doesn't work anymore. Maybe money does work, but you can't buy certain things like food. You know, you can only buy certain things. And it'll be determined as well, like what you buy. If you buy too much meat or you buy too much alcohol, then your social credit points will go down. You know, you're going to have to buy what the government determines you should buy. And that will, of course, be insects and bugs and larvae and all this wonderful stuff. Larvae, they want to feed you larvae. You don't know what larvae is, you know, insect eggs that turn into, like maggots, folks. Yeah. That's larvae. Okay, so they want you eating maggots, they want you eating insects, mealworms, eat the bugs, folks, eat the bugs. Growing meat is one of the worst, most pollutive things we can do for the earth. It's ridiculous. Recently you had Al Gore saying we've got to give up farming or everyone's going to starve. We've got to give up growing food or everyone's going to starve. Let me think about that sentence for a moment. It doesn't make any sense at all, but people still do it. They just put it in your face. But that's what we're heading for. So, like I said, it's going to either go there or it's going to be stopped by us. But we have to stand up and stop it. We have to stop complying with it. Be the best person you can possibly be. Never comply with any legislation which causes you to step outside your moral compass. Simply do the right thing in all that you do. You imagine if everybody on earth obeyed their moral compass in everything that they did, refused to comply with anything which caused them to step outside their moral compass, we would literally change the world in a day. In a day. You know, we don't even have to change the system. If we change who we are and change how we interact with the world and interact with the people around us, the system has to change with us. We don't have to protest, we don't have to revolt or rebel or have riots or overthrow the government or anything. All we've got to do is refuse to comply with anything which causes us to step outside our moral compass. Be the best person you can ever be. Something that I've always liked to stress with people, you probably heard me say it on the show, but I've been saying it at every talk that I've done. All these talks are different. I never know where I'm going to go, folks, when I get up here. Kind of just make this up as I go along and see where it goes. But something that I've said, something that most people should do, everybody should do at some stage, if you sit there and you meditate or you reflect or whatever, you have those moments of reflection, ask yourself what sort of a friend you are to your friends. Ask yourself, are you the type of friend that you would want to have as a friend? Not are you a good person, not are you this, not are you that. If you really needed someone to depend on, you're backwards to the wall and your life depended on someone helping you, would you be that person? Would you be that person for someone else, for any of your friends? Would they be that sort of a person for you? Something that I've heard with a lot of people, a guy was questioning last night at the talk saying he's lost a lot of friends through this whole process of speaking out about what's going on. He's lost a lot of friends. Is that the same for anybody in this room? You lost a few friends through this process? Anybody? Yeah. Well, if you have, yeah, you gained some. And I'd say to them, well, look at all of these new friends in this room that you've got here. And that's something that you can do here. I mean, everybody that comes to these talks and comes to these presentations, if you make any type of a connection, eye contact, or just smile or have a chat with anybody here, connect with them, get their number, create your own support group on the ground here. Surround yourself by like-minded people who are willing to really take this head on. You know, if we could be the best friend we ever could to anybody, we could be the greatest person we can be, we could be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. We don't need a movement, we don't need to have some sort of headquarters or have some sort of a leader. We're already through this whole community. We can just be a shining light in our little area of the community. And it's like mycelium, it's like that fungus that grows beneath the earth, just and spreads out everywhere and pops up around the place, you know? Just those little pillars of light. And that's what this is. This is an opportunity for you to be that person. Put down all the bullshit and all the trappings of society, all the stuff that they think you need to do to be successful. All you have to do to be successful is to be the best version of yourself you've ever been. That's what you came here to do. You came here to grow your soul. You came here to see if you could pass this exam. You came here to see if you could possibly grow up through this whole process. That's something about our societies. We don't grow up. We never know when we reach that point of adulthood. I remember when I was a kid, you know, I was thinking, I wonder what it is that I become a man. And one day I looked in the mirror and saw wrinkles and went, oh shit, I guess I'm grown up. You know, I guess I'm an adult. You know, in Mexico they have a quinceanera. Quinceanera for a girl, a quinceanera for a boy. When you turn 15, they have a big, huge celebration. Now you're an adult. Now you've got to take responsibility for your actions. Now you're going to face the penalties of a man and the penalties of a woman if you step outside certain lines. They instill a sense of family into them. They have a priest come along, put up a podium and give a big spiel about God and all sorts of stuff, and how they must always respect their mother and their father and their family and always work with their family and blah, blah, blah. It's an amazing thing. It's bigger than a wedding. A girl's quinceanera in Mexico is bigger than a wedding. It's like the biggest event of her life. We don't have that in the West. You know, even Shipibo cultures in Peru and all of this, they have a period in their life where they go through and you know, okay, now you're a man. There's some sort of a thing that happens. We don't have that in the West. We just go through and suddenly we find that we've got wrinkles and we're old. So I guess somewhere in that process I became a man, grew up. Did I grow up? Why am I still asking permission for everything that I have to do if I think I'm grown up, you know? But we never really get that. We don't have any of that moment in Western society, where we reach manhood, we reach adulthood, like 21st birthday party or whatever, we all go out and get drunk, you know, yeah, that's great. You know, that's what we've got. And that's, I think, a lot of the reason for this predicament that we're in. I think all this has been done by design, you know. It's like John Lennon said, life is what happens while you're planning other things. Suddenly you go, oh shit, I'm old now. You know, you've probably heard me talk about the guy on the beach that I met on Venice Beach, 80 years old, crying his eyes out. And I said, why are you here crying on the beach? And he said, because I realised I could have done this 65 years ago. But I didn't. I collected all this stuff. I got a Fortune 500 company. I tried to get a wife and 2.4 kids in the latest model car and a white picket fence, when all I really wanted to do was sit on the beach. And I went through the whole corporate ladder, climbed the corporate ladder, got to the point I was a multi-millionaire. You know, because when you do that, the world is your oyster. Well, I climbed that ladder and I got to the top of that hill, and guess what? There's nothing there. There's nothing there. And when you've got that much money, you're a billionaire and you can have anything you want, nothing means anything anymore. There's no happiness in this system, and all I really wanted to do was sit on the beach and watch the surf and go surfing. And through all the stuff that I did, I never found myself. And that's what this is all about, folks. I mean, with all the stuff we're doing, even coming here trying to talk to you guys and try to help the world go in a different direction, because, you know, I can see that there's a door over there. If people want to walk through it, we're going to have a better reality. But I can't make anyone walk through it. But even with doing that, I mean, maybe it's my karma to do this, I don't know, but, you know, it's my own path to do this, and it's your own path to do this. Even with the people you're trying to wake up, it's your path to do this. If they don't wake up, well, that's their problem. It's not your problem. You want to do it because you see the necessity of saving the world because of what's coming, but ultimately it's your path. And the best way to wake them up is to simply lead by example and be the best version of yourself that you can, because you can't tell people the truth. You'll never tell them the truth. They won't listen. They won't believe you. They'll argue the point. Real truth cannot be told. Real truth must be realised. This is why in so many of my shows I ask questions, I encourage other people to ask questions. I just say, well, what about this? And why do they do that? And why do they do this? Like, people email me all the time saying, oh, I think I know Max, and, you know, I don't need to know. I just wanted you to ask the question. Because then you have that epiphany, you have that moment of clarity yourself, and that's how it works. And that's all you can do with people. I mean, the only reason I even do this is because, I mean, I can see what's coming, and I can see the benefit of there being more awake people than not getting through to the other side. You know, whatever this is going to be, this whole tunnel that we're heading into, this dystopia that we're heading into, the more awake people and aware people they are that come through the other side of this collapse, the better. I think the government in many ways have assured that that's going to happen as well, because they're killing them all off with this jab. But they're trying to move us into this transhumanist, cyborg type reality. And, you know, they've been pretty successful with it, folks. They've been pretty successful with the neural mesh and all this shit that they're doing. They've been pretty successful with it. But I think their hubris is going to bring them down. So now's the time for people to be all they can be. Now's the time to just stand proud and just walk through it. You know, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, all that sort of shit. You know, that's what you've got to do. That's the person you've got to be. And that's what's going to change things. Because I can't see any way of stopping this unless we do something like these people's mandates, stand up and actually pull these parasites out of power. Of course, you've got to be very careful who gets back into that seat, because they might just want to go down the same pathway. It's got to be people who are completely awake, because, you know, if they're going to embrace the monetary system and do all the stuff that they're doing and just lead us down that same way again, well, we're just going to end up where we are. You know, you've got to change your moral compass. You know, you can't change anything without changing your moral compass, because if we even pull all these people out of power, if we still remain in the moral space that we're in now, we're just going to end up back where we are, end up back where we're going. You know, but if we change that and apply that to the world around us, then the world changes. We don't have to do anything else. It'll be an organic process. But it's a really terrifying thing for a lot of people to stand in their moral compass and to just not give a shit about authority. To me, the system doesn't exist. I mean, it just doesn't exist. And sure, I've got to use a passport, I've got to get a ticket or whatever, you know, to get on a plane or whatever. You know, I've got a driver's license and I've got a passport, I've got car registration, and I've got an international bank account, because they closed down all my bank accounts in Australia. But that's all I've got that ties me to the system. That's it. I don't have anything else. I haven't had a rental agreement or a bond agreement or I've never filled out a tax form. I've never voted for anybody. I've never participated in the system at all. To me, it's a fiction. It's a fiction, and I've managed to get to like 66 years old, and I've managed to get through it. You know, I have a saying, if you throw yourself to the wind, you can ride it. And I'm living proof that that works. And I'm also living proof that you don't have to be somebody to actually make change in the world. All you got to do is be the best version of yourself that you can. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to be, you know. But I'm a nobody. I didn't even finish high school. So you don't have to have an education. You don't have to be somebody. You just got to be prepared to speak out, and you can make a difference. Speak from your heart and understand that this is your path through this realm. You know, I'd like to take as many people on the other side as possible. I mean, I love people. I'm just a people guy, you know. And I really see what's going on, and my heart tears for the pain and suffering that I see throughout the world, and I'd like to stop that. But ultimately, this is my path. This is my path through this realm. If other people stay asleep and go the direction they're going, well, that's them. That's the way it goes. You kind of have to remove yourself of emotional attachment for the fate of others. All you can do is offer your perspective. And that's the same for your kids and your parents and, you know, your partners and all that sort of stuff. I mean, ultimately, it's their path. You know, we share space with these people, but ultimately, they're all on their own spiritual path. Even the kids in Palestine that are dying and being subject to this genocide. I mean, I would even speculate that, you know, a lot of these souls came here to be genocided live on TV to give you the opportunity to stand up and call it out for what it is. And if you don't, well, what does that make you? You know, if we permit this sort of stuff to happen, well, what's going to come back to us? You know, because that's what they do. The way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And what they're doing in Gaza is brutal, absolutely brutal, folks. And if they get away with it, well, and then they can just basically get away with anything else. Because, oh, it isn't as brutal as what went on in Gaza. You know, which has been absolutely horrendous, folks. I don't know whether you've been keeping track of it, but it's been absolutely horrendous by this rogue state of fake Jews in the illegitimate state of Israel, which is what it is. I mean, these people have no connection to the land. They're absolutely, this is a whole presentation to even talk about who these people are and where they come from. But they're not true Israelites, none of them. They're not the true Jews. They're not the chosen ones of the Bible. They are really actually mentioned in the Bible by Jesus Christ, who calls them the synagogue of Satan. The Jews who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. If you believe in biblical stuff. That's who these guys are. So, come on. I have no concept of time, folks. So there's someone coming on after me, so I've got to sort of keep it short. I just go on for hours. I did one of these the other day, and I was speaking for 3 hours before I realised it was 3 hours. And I said, any more questions? And the guy said, are we finishing? So I'm going to turn over to questions with you guys. So we've got about another, 40 minutes or so? Yeah, so we're going to have 40 minutes of Q&A and just have a conversation. So are there any questions that anyone would like to talk about? Anything at all, anybody? There's one down here. You'll have to yell out. I don't think we have a cordless mic for you, darling, unfortunately. Now I can't reach down there with this mic, so you can come up here if you would, absolutely. I'd love to have you up here.
So, I don't want to really ask you a question. I want to give an answer.
The mic.
This is my mic. So, yeah, okay.
That's why you came down there, remember?
So you said just speak from the heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of everything.
It is.
Being in the heart.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know if everyone knows, but heart is like 100,000, electrical field of the heart is 100,000 times stronger than the electrical field of the brain. And magnetical field of the heart is like 5,000 times stronger than a magnetical field of the brain. So if we are connected by hearts, things change. So what you said, being the best version of yourself, that's the whole solution.
It is. Yeah.
And we don't need to think with our brains, we don't need to think about solutions, because in our interactions, solutions just come. I said to some people once, universe or God is the biggest creator. And we are here to interpret or for God to come out of us. So if we interact, the solution will come. We don't need to think about the solution. Solutions will be created by all of our hearts if we can stand together. If we can.
What was the question?
If we can go over the differences, the small ones. And the other thing is about the brain. Brain functions in a way that if we can visualize something, we can achieve it. And this group, or whatever we call them, good or bad, because there is no good or bad, there is just one thing, because you can interpret it as bad. And I can say this is good because it makes us better. It helps our souls to grow, and we can achieve something that we wouldn't achieve if there wasn't that.
Yeah, but we have to apply it.
Take the microphone back.
I definitely see our heart fields as a solution.
Yeah.
We got to apply ourselves to reality as well. I mean, it's a 3D world you're living in. Your 3D body. You know, you exist. There's a clue there. You know, you exist in physicality. You know, all of these understandings. That's why I finish every show I do with In Lakesh. I am another yourself. You know, I've often speculated and suggested that your consciousness isn't local to your body, it's in the field around you. You simply download one frequency. We're all just a thought in the mind of God, every one of us. And every single one of us comes from a single source. There's really only one of us here, experiencing itself from 7 billion different perspectives. If that's how many people there are in the world, who knows? I'd like to know who goes and counts it, but anyway. I think that's what this is all about. And this is, like I said, a form of soul purification. If the mind of God has got baggage and needs to get rid of it, well, how do you do it? You shatter your consciousness into this type of reality and play out this grand amnesiac experiment to see what comes through the other side. But yeah, we've got to apply ourselves to this physical world. And like I said, if you change what's in your heart and apply that to the world around you, all these meditations and all these spiritual things, you know, people think if I meditate, I'll change the world. You know, so I'm going to close my eyes and then I open my eyes and the room's going to be blue. It doesn't work that way. You know, you've got to actually apply all these spiritual understandings to the world that you live in by walking that path and always operating in your heart, always operating in your moral compass and being the best version of yourself that you can, because that's what you came here to do. And I think there is good and bad. There is good and evil, because without good and evil, you wouldn't have the choice to choose the good. Without the evil, there'd be no point in meditation. There'd be no point in this whole experiment. This is a form of soul purification. That's what it is. And we've reached a point collectively of spiritual bankruptcy, to the point that this had to happen. This sort of a thing had to happen to give us the opportunity to grow up and deal with it. That's what we've got to do. Any more questions? Here's one. Come over here, Dom. Well, you can help it now.
First of all, thank you very much for being here with us. My question is, you've said the things are being really bad with these watchmen and whatever they're doing, but you should have seen it like before this Hyrule rain which came here. And I would like to know, are there any effective ways to get rid of this nanotechnology that is currently inside of our bodies? Thank you very much for your answer.
I would suggest, yes, there is. There's been a few reports, video reports I've seen on YouTube lately about how to clean your body out of the chemtrails and the jab and the nanotech. I can't exactly tell you how. I've got a friend, Dr. Andrew Kaufman. You might have heard of Andrew Kaufman. He's a great guy. And I think he has some methods as well of clearing this stuff out of your body. So I'm sure if you do a search on YouTube or BitChute, or even write to someone like Andy Kaufman, he's very approachable. Just write to him and say, do you know anyone you could recommend? And even if he can't do it, he'll probably recommend you to another doctor who can. But I've seen a lot of reports about, yes, you can clear this stuff out. So all is not lost, folks. Don't think that their game is over, because it isn't. Like I said, I think their hubris is what's going to bring them undone. And if we can see what's going on and all step into our hearts, well, we got this. We got this. We'll get through it. And if it does get completely dystopian, we'll just go grey. Walk with one foot in the system and one foot out, and you'll come out the other side unscathed. And it's going to be a better world, you know. So, yeah. Who's next? Any more questions? Here's one. Yeah, you've got to get up. It's a pain, I know. Welcome.
G'day, Max.
G'day.
Another fellow Aussie.
From south of the water in Geelong. But actually I've been living in Luxor, Egypt for the past year and a half. That's another story. Absolutely. Okay, two questions.
We'll put you up.
There's two things you might be interested to know, but I'll ask if you know. There's a new banking application that's been developed. It'll be available and released on the 12th of December, which is a completely different thing to anything else. So it's on a blockchain, so that no one can hack it, no government can see it. So you can put crypto and fiat cash on it. Has banking licenses already for every country. Connect with debit cards. You can transfer any amount anywhere in the world without any controls by anybody. No government, as I said, can see what is in it. No one can control it, not even the company that does it. So you might want to look at it. It's Trustify, so it's trust with a YFI.com. Look into that. Trustify.
No. Justify. Yeah.
That's one. Another question is, for the past 28 years, some barristers have been looking at how the UN conventions were constructed for international courts. So there's actually about 8 international courts around the world. You've got European one, you've got the African one, and the criminal court, etc. But there's nothing stopping the independent judiciary for creating its own. So some barristers have been working on it. They're very secretive.
How long have you been working on it?
28 years.
I see a problem already.
Yeah. Well, it's not far finished going, actually. They spent 10 million of their own money doing it. But it's very involved to do it, so they had to develop a non-government or intergovernment organisation, if you like. But that's called the Sovereign Court of International Justice. Might be worth looking into. Otherwise, I just thought that if you didn't know them, it would be well worth knowing.
My question is, like, with Trustify, all very well, but if it's digital, what happens when all the biometrics is in place and you have a bad social credit score and you can't get online, and your mobile phone doesn't work because you flew to Spain last year and your carbon credit points are down because you haven't been using your electric car properly, and you know what I'm saying? Soon it's all going to be biometrics, and you're going to have to check all the boxes in order to even be able to log online to access your digital currency. You know, that's what they've done in China. There's hundreds and hundreds of people in China who can't use public transport, can't rent houses, can't access their bank accounts, and they're just killing themselves because they're completely locked outside the system because it's all biometrics. So if it gets to that point, I mean, and it's great that these lawyers are doing this, but why haven't they already arrested these parasites? And you know, in Mexico, if the politicians do the wrong thing, the people kill them. I kind of like that. That works for me. You know? I'm not asking for violence, but counter-violence, against violence. What these people are doing is murdering the population. Your government wants you dead. They want to kill you. And they are killing everybody. If these guys have spent 28 years trying to figure out this little thing to get this little... Why didn't they just grab a grand jury from the public and go and do a trial and lynch these motherfuckers? You know? Because honestly, it's really got to that point. I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to do and what they're trying to do, but we're in a serious situation. We're going to wait another 28 years? What's happened in the last 28 years since they had this idea? Why didn't they just put it in place and spend 28 days putting it together and just go and do it? you know, and nip this in the bud before it happened. We're in a state of clear and present danger. We really are. And I mean, I've got cryptocurrency and all that sort of stuff, and it's quite feasible in a real world where the system is how it appears on the surface at face value, then it would all work. But we have, like I said, a multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal of parasites, masqueraders, politicians who are murdering the population of this world. Killed 17 million people by injection in the last 4 years. You know, and you're just going to see that number escalate dramatically over the next 12 months. Like we said when this started, it's going to take 3 to 5 years before you start to see the real effects of the jab. You know, and this jab really started rolling out in earnest around 2021, 2022. And now you are seeing, like I said before, there's nurses saying people are spasming for days. People are developing turbo cancer. Healthy athletes are developing heart problems and then having total organ failure. Like all of their body is rejecting all their organs all at once. And they're just dying the most horrific, painful deaths. This is what's going on to a lot of these people that had these jabs and these boosters. There's a mass genocide going on right now. And, you know, we've got a legal system here that could work simply in common law. If people were to step into their moral compass and simply step into their heart space, you wouldn't tolerate this shit. We would have tarred and feathered these people and run them out of town 100 years ago. We would have done this in 2019. We would have tarred and feathered them and run them out of town. You know, and it's really got to that point. I mean, it's great putting all this legal framework in place. Okay, implement it now. Get these guys, do it now. Do it now because your government is killing you, you know. So yeah, I mean, in a real world, if we can bring this system under control, then Trustify sounds great. But if I need biometrics, I mean, I've got a cell phone, but it doesn't leave the house. I don't take it anywhere. I've never done anything. I've never made a purchase over the counter anywhere in the world, anywhere, any time in my life that I didn't pay cash for. As much as I don't respect the fiat system, it's untraceable. It's just a medium of exchange. I won't use digital currency for anything. Even if I can cash my Bitcoin or whatever in, I want it turned into paper so I can go and buy something. Because I'm not going to take a phone into a store and scan a QR code. I don't even know what that says, that QR code. That's computer language. I don't know what it says. I'm not scanning one. I'll never scan a QR code. I never have. This is what we're facing. I mean, they're creating a digital barrier between us and reality, and that's only going to work. What you're saying is only going to work if the system appears as it does at face value, or if we regain control of the system. When even Bitcoin was coming about and all this stuff was coming about, I was speaking in Acapulco in 2016. I said to these guys, what you're doing is great, all this digital currency and cryptocurrency and all this stuff's great, but understand that the world is run by criminals. And you're trying to transition us into this new financial system, which is great. But if you haven't factored in that the world is run by criminals, and these guys are going to build an umbrella over that and co-opt it and lead it to where they're going to let you build all this. They're going to build an umbrella of control over it, and they're going to co-opt it and lead it where they want to go. If you haven't factored in that, then you've already lost. If these people are still in positions of power while you're making this transition to this new system, then they're going to co-opt it, because that's what they do. You know, and they did. And I started warning them about social crediting back in 2016. Now look at it. You know, that's the basis of the whole thing. So, great idea, but the world's run by criminals, and we need to deal with that problem first and foremost. And the way to deal with that is to step into your heart. To never comply with anything which causes you to step outside your heart. Anything that causes you to go outside your moral compass. You know, that's the way to deal with it. Do that and all this stuff will work. It'll be great. Like I said, if we change ourselves, we don't have to change the system. It'll change around us. But we've got to factor in this reality. You can't deny it. You know, your government wants to kill you. And if they're in positions of power while you're trying to transition to anything, they're going to go, great, build it for us. And then they're going to co-opt it, you know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.